Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people conform to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. But first, thank you for subscribing to the channel and for all those likes. Today we have 3 great stories, so let's get right into them, shall we? The first story is called We Don't Trust You. Quite a few years ago, I worked in commercial parks and grounds maintenance. Think industrial-sized ride-on lawnmowers. It was a good place to work. Reasonable salary, good conditions, plenty of optional overtime. It could at times be quite labor-intensive, but mostly a pretty cruisy job. We had a condition of employment that included commuter use of the work vehicle. Use of the work vehicle to and from work at no monetary cost to us. The provision of this condition was that we started and finished on the job, 7 AM to 4 PM. This really suited me, as I geographically lived a reasonable distance from our main depot. I often drove past our work sites to get to the depot. It was a win-win. The truck had to be parked off-street for insurance reasons, which I could accommodate. This condition meant my employer gained on average an hour's more work from me every day. This worked fine for a few years. My team leader and I were good friends. He trusted me unconditionally. I was a good worker and always maintained my areas to a very high standard. Always helped out my colleagues if and when they needed it. I always finished a job even if I went over my finish time and never put in for overtime. My team leader retired and I get moved under a different team leader. The new team leader and I didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. He always seemed out to get me for anything he could. I don't remember any specific reason for him not liking me. It was just one of those situations, I guess. He didn't like me, I didn't like him. A few months later, it's springtime. The grass is growing like crazy. I took a sick day and did some work around my house. During the spring season, I would also take the mower home as I had the parking space. A lot of other workers didn't. This was agreed upon by my employer. On my day off, I had parked the work truck and mower out the front of my house, so I had access to my backyard. Still off-street, mind you. I moved it back a few hours later. I got to work the following day, received a phone call at about 9:30 AM. The team leader and coordinator want to talk to me about a work issue. They come out on site and the conversation went something like this. As a condition of maintaining commuter use of the work vehicle, you must park the vehicle off-street. I can, and I do, have done so for years. We have reasons to believe that you don't. What evidence do you have to support your claim? The team leader pulled out some photos of the truck parked outside my house on my day off. Who took these? I'm not at liberty to disclose that for privacy reasons. Okay, that's BS, but whatever. I was on sick leave that day. I needed access to my backyard. The vehicle was there for 2 to 3 hours maximum, was parked off-street when I was finished in my yard. Whoever took those pictures must have taken them during that time. It was parked securely overnight, as it is every night. As you can see, these photos don't show that. We don't trust that you are doing the right thing. So we are giving you a first warning for breaking the vehicle policy, and you will need to drop the mower and truck back at the depot after you finish work. You no longer have access to bringing the truck home. I dispute your warning. It's complete BS. I'm finishing work now. I can't work like this knowing someone is spying on me taking opportunistic photos. I'm dropping the mower back at the depot. I need the truck to get home tonight, but you can make arrangements for someone to pick it up tomorrow from my place. It seems someone knows my address. I'm going to call HR on my way home to set up a meeting tomorrow. I have nothing more to say to you two. And with that, I packed up and left. I have CCTV cameras, so I ran straight home to investigate. The photos were time and date stamped. Lo and behold, the photographer was my team leader with the coordinator in tow. The next day, I met with HR and told them the story. They didn't know anything about my supposed warning. I provided my own photos of the team leader and coordinator taking photos outside my house, followed by the vehicle properly parked on my property, and thus began the malicious compliance. A meeting is called between all parties. We apologize for the way you've been treated, etc, etc, etc. You have not been issued any kind of warning, and you can maintain your existing vehicle conditions as you have shown you have done nothing wrong. No thanks, I'm happy to use my own vehicle to get to and from work from now on. Despite being innocent, I have no trust in these two, so I'll start and finish at the depot from now on. I won't be doing 1 minute of extra work for you guys ever again. Thanks. 2 weeks later, the team leader put out a call for overtime as we were so far behind and getting non-compliance warnings for the grass being too high in high priority public park. I and my colleagues said we couldn't work any overtime. They all hated how I had been treated and dug in behind me. My employer had to pay a contractor to come and mow the grass on a weekend at a huge cost to them. I left shortly after that. The next story is called Performance Notice. I had a wonderful old manager called Samantha and a coworker called Joe. From day one, it was obvious that Joe was one of the hardest working people on the team, and Samantha could not stand him. So this is a few years into Joe's tenure with the team, and for whatever reason, Samantha decides to put Joe on a performance notice. This is basically an HR notice that you have 6 months to get your game together, or you're fired. The reason on the paperwork? Improper attitude. Joe was the type of guy to always speak his mind. And while management says they live this, brutal experience shows this is a lie. The problem with this notice is it also comes with penalties. No work from home. They literally take your laptop array and bring you a thin client. No approved overtime and no learning new things or assignments. And no raise or bonus. You have to prove you do your job well, and then after the 6 months, if you are not fired, the manager can extend with an additional probation period of another 6 months. January of every year is when we find out about our raises and bonuses from the previous year. And to put it delicately, that January they screwed us. To the point that one person walked out and 2 older employees 30 plus years took packages. Come February, we are drowning and Joe can't work overtime and Joe can't learn new things. Manager's orders, remember? Well, this is in the middle of Joe's probation period as Samantha predictably extended his notice. So this is where we find ourselves mid-March 2020. Cue malicious compliance. They sent the whole company home. Everyone is working from home. Except Joe. He is home, just not working. And about 2 weeks into it is when Samantha finally notices. She goes ballistic. Why aren't you working? Blah blah blah. On a team email with everyone CC'd. He replies to all, as you know, I'm on coaching and cannot work from home. She tries to get HR to fire him, to which they reply, Samantha, you elected to continue the notice, which still has 4 months. We cannot issue him a laptop until it expires. Turns out the only way to rectify it ASAP was to petition formally with the head of HR that putting Joe on a performance notice was done in error, and have all parties sign, including Joe. And all of this happens, except Joe refuses to sign. He won't sign until they give him his bonus and raise, which they do. The whole thing took over a month. A month of Joe basically on a free vacation. The last story is called The Universe Works in Mysterious Ways. My dad was a very interesting man with interesting collections. He was quite wealthy and had the money to buy his bizarre oddities. They actually were fun to look at. An authentic suit of armor, old Greek coins from 500 BC, ancient jewelry, etc. He remarried after my sisters and I were adults and we all pretty much hated the woman he married. It was so obvious why she wanted to marry him. It was for his money. My dad was an extremely intelligent businessman, so I never really understood why he married her. I guess I just assumed he was in lust for her. I just never knew for sure. I did ask him one day why he asked her to marry him. He explained he didn't. She asked him. Again, I asked, why did you agree? His answer was that he couldn't think of a reason not to. Okay, Dad, whatever. Consider this. On her wedding day, she was beyond thrilled. Not because she was marrying my dad, but because all of her 5 creepy sons happened to be out of prison at the same time. When Dad passed, the first thing she did was to go through all these oddities. She picked out items she knew were of great value, and of course kept them instead of including them in the estate per the will. It seemed like she was in court constantly over that will, the properties, etc. I lived out of state, and just losing my dad, I wanted no part of the legal battles and drama. I just couldn't. I didn't want to be part of it, so I hired a lawyer and just asked him to handle it and tell me when it was over. I really couldn't cope with all this. I was sick of it. My dad and I were very close, and it took me a long time to get over the loss of my dad. I just didn't deal with it well, and the thought of what she was doing to all his possessions was more than I could deal with at the time. He really loved and enjoyed those items. I was living out of state, and about a year after he passed, I went home to see my sister and some friends. Pat, my stepmom, knew I was home, and she was aware I knew how to use eBay. She did not. She called me and asked if I could eBay some items. For real? She wanted me to help her with these tasks? Sure, I guess. I went over to the house, more because I wanted to see my childhood home one last time. She was notorious for putting everything in writing. She didn't want to speak to us, so she would write notes instead. She left a box on the front doorstep with a note asking me to sell this box on eBay. In the box were these ancient coins, ancient jewelry, etc. They did appear a bit beat up, and I realized she didn't understand that these items were authentic. They weren't replicas, they weren't fake, they were the real deal. I laughed to myself and thought, no problem Pat, consider it done. On eBay they have a bit of a scam place where you can sell mystery boxes. You don't tell what is in the box. It might be rocks or it might be a treasure. She did say to sell the box, and she did say she wanted it done on eBay. So I listed the box. I was honest. I referred to the request of the Steps gang and said she wanted me to sell the box. There's another offshoot of eBay where they list out eBay auctions and bizarre items for sale. My auction made the website. What nobody realized is that what was in the box was legit. It was real. It was worth a great deal of money. I ended up selling the box for I think $44 and change. I sent the original box with all the items listed carefully. I had to. I knew she would take me to court over it eventually, so I had to be careful to document everything. And I insured it for several $1,000s. I can't remember the exact number now. UPS has a max for insurance. I think I insured it for $10K, but I could be wrong. That was very likely the true worth. I dutifully sent Pat the check for $44 and change by certified check. Return receipt requested. My stupid sister called her and told her what I had done and what the true worth of it was. Again, just as I knew, we went back to court and this was in her list of complaints to the judge. I told the judge the truth. I showed him her note. I proved I sent the box and he actually sided with me, as I honestly did not know the exact value of the items. She thought they were fakes. Who was I to disagree? About a week after I sent the box, the guy's father called me. He was very kind and very professional, but was concerned that I scammed his son. He explained that his son was mildly mentally challenged and I pretty well took all the money he had saved for this box of trinkets, and $44 was a lot of money to his son. He explained that he was aware I didn't know about his son, but would I object to refunding his money if he returned the items? I couldn't help but laugh. I asked him if he had still the original box. He did. I asked him to really look at those items. They were not quite trinkets as he assumed. Then I explained the whole story. The dad felt bad that I lost so much money and he actually offered to return them. Nope, I didn't want them back. It was truly icing on the cake for me. The box went to a guy who really didn't have much. But he does now. I couldn't have planned that ending better had I tried. The universe does work in mysterious ways. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.